what was going in your mind when you decided to choose bioengineering at IITM? Well, first, and I'm going to answer this first, and then probably the subsequent ones will come. Why not computer science, and how did you finally decide, and what was the role of your coach? I think the biggest question in my mind was, before I got specific to a field and domain, which is thanks to my engineering course and the exposure I got at IITM, I was in the world where I was all about, I want to make huge impact and I want to make it fast. And one of the first things that came to my mind, being an 18-year-old, looking at the world from maybe a lens of Google or talking to very, very few people with my own biases, was that maybe a PhD or an MBA is a way to, get to a point where I can create the impact that I always wanted in my life. And more so, I was biased towards an MBA because it's a 2-year course. You get to be in like high positions and work with high-ranking officials, and that MBA can propel me to the position I need. So I was backward triaging. I was saying, what domain or field do I need to go to such that I can make to a top B school MBA, and very particularly Harvard Business School. And so I looked at many people's profiles, and I was seeing most of them are from computer science, and after computer science, they go to McKinsey. And so I was thinking, really, bioengineering, like, who really cares about this? And will it get me to the top consulting firms or investment banks or wherever, such that I can go to Harvard to do an MBA? So that's what was going in my mind. And I was unsure if I like biology or if I hate biology. Because in my school, I never used to like it. I used to find it completely boring, and maybe even a subject that requires a lot of mugging up. Who cares about plants? That's what my thought process is. And I was thinking that, whether am I digressing? I mean, IIT is a top-notch engineering institution. Bio and engineering don't really connect together. Should I really do this? I also had another alternative of pursuing computer science at Delhi College of Engineering, which is also a top engineering institute in our country. And it was very apparent to me that if I went to Delhi College of Engineering with computer science, I would be one of the top students in the class and had probably a highly likelihood of working at a Google or a Microsoft. And from onwards from there, continue to my B school journey or go to consulting. How did I finally decide, and what was the role of my coach? I think this was a very, very interesting discussion with my coach, T. Muralidharan. Couple of biases of mine that were highlighted during this discussion was, one was the bias of that I don't really know what a field means. So when I say computer science, one would imagine or think that, hey, in computer science, I do this, and life after doing computer science looks like you building cool gadgets and you building Google or you building Facebook. That isn't the case. Yeah? Or also for bioengineering, I may feel like it's some boring biological thing. I just didn't know what each field actually contained in it, and that recognition that I did not know was important, because it brought about openness in me to look into bioengineering. Number two, it is important to also take into consideration not just the field you take, but then the life that comes along with it. Yeah, computer science demands you to spend hundreds of hours spending on a computer coding. Biology demands you hundreds of hours reading papers and conducting experiments in a wet lab. And even so, the jobs that come after, there's a life that comes along with it. I did not have that recognition. My coach helped me understand that each job involves a lifestyle, and I should only pursue that job or that field when I also embrace the lifestyle that goes along with it. So that was also incredibly helpful. I think the third piece where I can just top of my mind I can talk about was helpful was, I did not really understand the trends in the world. Yeah, my coach helped me understand that a bit, and not only just through him, but through a couple of his friends as well. So, for example, I thought, hey, computer science is the most progressive field. People are building robots, and Google's coming, and AI is coming, and I should probably go in those dimensions. Why am I wasting time with biology? And that was all my biases because of my limited exposure. Thanks to my coach and thanks to some of the research he had done and some of his friends who are disruptive in the field, who he allowed me to talk to, I realized there was a shit ton going in biology. There was a lot that was happening. It was incredibly exciting. I learned about a professor in Harvard University called George Church, who was using DNA to store data. that was just mind-boggling to me. I didn't know that kind of work was happening. I got to know about recombinant DNA technology, with which you can use, take any gene and put it into another genome sequence and insert it into the body. So it was incredibly fascinating, even though I didn't know much about biology, and that was not the thing that propelled me to completely give into my passion, but it opened me up. And then it also, my coach also explained to me the role of IIT as an institution, versus other institutions. The fact that living in a hostel in IIT and being in that life and learning from your peers, I have come to appreciate it even more so after becoming an alumni, finding some really good friends in those batchmates, and enjoying a level of intellectual companionship which is hard to find if you're not necessarily coming from that background. So I would say those were a couple of factors that I was able to discuss and know from my coach, which really helped me decide. The funny thing about my story in terms of decision was I have pursued the computer science degree at Delhi College of Engineering and the IIT Madras degree simultaneously. So 1 week I was in one institution and 1 week in the other. I did that for about 1.5 months. And some of the things my coach said, I was able to validate them through practice. I'm a very practical person. And that really helped me reassure myself that going to IIT Madras and then pursuing bioengineering was a good enough choice as was any other. And then in the case of engineering, an institution was more important when it comes to like early bachelor level engineering. Also the course. So the fact that a bachelor's only course was originally attractive to me because it was like 4 years you finish and you go out and you do something else. But my coach's recommendation of doing a 5 years makes sense to me now looking at it in retrospective, because that 1 year of pause that you have in the university during your dual degree allows you to reflect and think a lot. And it gives you the necessary pause that you need before going into industry to deepen your know-how as well as improve your soft skills. Yeah, you see other people going through interviews and you see where are their gaps. Through your internships, you've had some time to reflect on where are your soft skill gap, hard skill gaps. You can fill them out through the means of your thesis. And that just 1 extra year at IITM, spending time with people and getting to go deeper in research and interacting your professors, no longer as professors, but as peers in the lab as your guide, was a very profound and cherishable experience that I think I would recommend for quite a few people who really want to go deep in science.